Um, allow me to formally introduce myself. My name is Shireen. I'm the community specialist here in SAS. Been here almost a year. My colleagues, Jennifer, Martin, and Stephanie are here today as well. They are teachers of Catalyst. I will allow them to introduce themselves once they, as the session goes on. Just a little bit of my role. So my role as a community specialist here, I work with a variety of programs in SAS. We are trying to encourage more real-world connections for the other subjects, the programs, and it's to build the connection between the students and also the faculty to connect with people with experiences outside, and that's what we are preparing our students for. We also run the new, I also run the new co-working space. If you haven't been to on campus for a while, it's the first step to our reimagined campus, and our new library has just opened up. It's a really nice place to grab a coffee and work. The students have been enjoying the space. I hope we can get back to normal life and we can have you guys visit as well. Please do reach out to me if you have any other programs that you're interested to work with or lend a hand. We can definitely discuss how we can work well together. Take it away, Martin.
Welcome. So, yeah, my name is Martin Williams. This is my 11th year now at SAS and 6th year with Catalyst. Catalyst is an independent student project that lasts approximately 45 hours of class time. It's a graduation requirement, and it ensures that students have the opportunity to immerse themselves in selecting, planning, and developing a project or goal of their own choosing. The scope of potential projects is incredibly wide with Catalyst, and we do our very best to try and support every student in their choice. Students are not necessarily expected to do a large amount of work outside the class, but many do simply because of the nature of the projects they select. Jen, do you want to?
Most certainly. So hi, my name is Jennifer Norman, and my title is Instructional Technology Coach. And so I've been brought onto the team to learn this year about the Catalyst program and to help launch a different framework for the program. And so it's kind of in a trial and error state, but so far it's been actually working out really, really well in order to keep the kids organized. So what makes a good project? These are some of the things that when you're speaking to the students or when you're mentoring the students, these are just 3 pillars that we'd ask that you keep in mind. And it's thrilling, daunting, and important. And we've been talking to the kids and helping them develop their driving questions and their worthy goals based on these 3 pillars. And so as the kids have been working through different things, they've been evaluating against this framework. So thrilling should be something where the child is looking at this project and it's something that they get this internal feeling, and when they rub their hands together, they just immediately say, yes, this is exactly what I want to do. So it needs to be thrilling for them. For daunting, we want to be able to push kids outside of their comfort zone. And so we've been going through some exercises with them to actually realize what they are comfortable with and what things they're willing to push themselves on. So we call it daunting. And then the final thing is important. It's a way for the kids to take what they're doing, but then how can they say, I want to give back to the world instead of actually taking from the world? So as you're looking at some of the projects, we're looking through these 3 pillars: thrilling, daunting, and important. If I can now pass to my colleague, Stephanie, if you can unmute and introduce yourself and then take it away.
Okay. Hello, everybody. Sorry, I have to run in and out. I'm in charge of the test center, so I have students coming and going for tests. So that's why I wasn't here at the beginning. So I apologize for that. Thank you so much for volunteering to help us with the Catalyst program for this semester, especially for this particular class. we're trying out a whole lot of different new things this semester than we've done before in Catalyst. And we're very excited about that because we sort of listened to what the kids said over the last sort of year or so and thought, okay, well, some things that they found tricky were like finding a mentor. So we thought, okay, well, this will be something that we can try something new to pull a group of people together who would happily be mentors for them, and then hopefully match them up so that that's not such a daunting task for them and difficult task for them to find somebody that can help them. So I guess one of the things that we're talking to the students about is we started talking to them about that yesterday, and we will continue talking for the rest of this week about it. The role of a mentor is different to the role of other people that can help them with their project. So the mentor role needs to be somebody who is an adult, preferably somebody that they don't know. Like some of the kids are saying, oh, can I get my brother? He did Catalyst a couple of years ago. Could he be my mentor? And we're sort of saying no, because the point of this is to try and get students to meet adults and talk to them in a professional way as sort of practice for real life, because they'll have that sort of those expectations on them when they hit the workforce and even perhaps through college. So this is a really good practice for them dealing with an adult that they don't know. It's not a teacher, it's not somebody familiar to them, and building that sort of like professional relationship. So that's kind of where you guys all step in to sort of help them. That some of them might be quite shy and not very forthcoming. So that's an area where you can help them sort of like to come out of themselves a bit, talking to somebody that they're not very familiar with. Now, there are a couple of things we're also talking to the kids about in terms of what would make a good mentor for them. Some of them are very focused in on the content of what they're actually doing. And that is definitely one way a mentor can help them. So if it might be, say, a student's doing a project in environmental science, and maybe that's your background and you're a sort of environmental scientist, and that would be a great match because you'd be able to really help them in terms of research and in terms of sort of depth of understanding or directions that you might be able to go with a project in that field. But it doesn't necessarily have to be the particular field that you work in, because, for instance, if you're working in the field of, like event management or finance or something like that, well, you probably have amazing skills in organization and those sorts of things. So some students, that actually might be an area they need help. Quite a few students actually would need help with that. So it doesn't have to be your actual area of expertise. You can still be a mentor for a student and be able to help them through a project, just sort of like how to deal with a project. Because you probably, I'm guessing you probably know, but like we don't do this very often in the high school. We don't give kids the opportunity to drive their own learning. We don't give them, like you work out what your project's going to be. That's not something that we normally do. We set very strict guidelines on most assignments they need to do, and they have to follow certain criteria to do it. But this one is where they have to do it themselves. And sometimes the time management part of that is quite difficult for kids. And sometimes they get quite bogged down with, like where to go next and what to do next. And so that's the kind of support that you can kind of help them with, regardless of what your field is. Also, other things like we were talking, Martin and I were talking about this yesterday, like, for instance, if a student's doing a project on something to do with, like collecting insects, or just randomly throw that one out there. You might not know anything about that, but the way that child wants to present that work might be on a website, and maybe you've got a background in web design. So that could be a way that you could actually help in terms of a mentor role, is to help in actually the production of whatever it is that they're learning about. So you've got kind of the research side and the content side of what they're doing, and then you've got the presentation of that knowledge. Like maybe you've got some experience in podcasting, and that's something the student wants to do, is do a podcast on an important sort of event or something that they're trying to do. So there's all sorts of different ways that mentors can help students. It doesn't have to be that you're an expert in the field that they're doing a project in. I mean, that is obviously one area, but there are all these other ways that you can help them. And so when you're doing this meeting, this will be a good time when, like you can be asking questions about those 3 different pillars, and you can just sort of see whether or not you can sort of see where the student's going and where you might be able to help them. So you could sort of give some suggestions of things that you could help them with that aren't necessarily about the content. So one, I think you all got sent the guidelines. So that was us sort of brainstorming through all the different things that we thought of that might be important for you to know as a mentor. So if there's any questions about that, we can answer them towards the end of this session. But I thought I'd just perhaps go through exactly what the commitment level is for this role of a mentor, because there are like we know everybody's very busy, and I think a lot of reasons why kids struggle to get a mentor is because they write these lovely emails off and say to some expert in the field and say, would you be my mentor? And of course, people are thinking, oh, what does that mean? Does that mean that's going to be like my apprentice, or is that going to be somebody doing an internship? And it's nowhere near that kind of level at all. It's just we need the commitment would be probably roughly about maybe between 5 and 7 meetings with the student. And, it would be just sort of helping them along the way. It's sort of like a sounding board. It's like somebody who could help direct them. So the first initial one is going to be this one where we all get together. And then once everybody's matched up to the student and the mentor are matched up, then it's up to you to make those decisions about when you're available, when they're available. Like they have free blocks. They could do it in the evening if they want to, or if you want to, if that's more convenient, they could do it during our actual lesson time, which of course, because of this sort of sliding schedule, changes on a daily basis. But you might be able to just week by week figure out when would be a good time. There's no obligation to meet with them weekly at all. It's more about on needs basis. I mean, there's no point in meeting with them if they've done nothing between the last time you saw them. So it's kind of up to you to figure that out with your student. I would suggest that the very first meeting is more a sort of getting together, getting to know each other, finding out what their strengths are, where they need help, and then you sort of helping to guide them along with a way to start, because a lot of them are struggling with that sort of task initiation, getting started on things. So you'd be a really great help for that. And then the next few sessions will be sort of work sessions between you and your student, where you'll go through and figure out what they need help with. They can say, right, well, since I saw you last, I've done all of these things and this is where I'm going, but I'm not sure about this. And you can kind of give them that sort of support all the way through. And then the very last one will probably be sometime in May. And that's where they'll present their MVP, which is their actual thing that they're doing or making, or their project. And they'll present it back to you, and you can give them some feedback so that they can sort of, like make changes, or, like leave it as it is if it's really great, ready to be submitted. The very final part of the Catalyst project is a presentation of their whole learning journey, so that you'll probably feature in that. So they might want to invite you along to that as well. So that would be that's pretty much what we're looking for. It's not a huge commitment of time. It's probably checking in every couple of weeks, I would think. But of course, if you have a really sort of good relationship with them and you want to meet with them more and they want to meet more with you, that's also fine too. Face-to-face meeting is completely fine if you can come to campus and meet them, or Zoom meetings are also totally fine as well. So Martin, perhaps I'll pass it on to you. It's probably people sitting hearing me talking.
Yeah, maybe one point I'd like to make is with regard to what the project is not necessarily about. But it seems a little odd to say this, but we're not necessarily looking for perfection, whatever that actually is. We've found that when we've put highly polished exemplars in front of many of the students, it sort of discourages them from making taking themselves out of their comfort zone. We want our students to take risks. We want them to move out of their comfort zone. And so we talk a lot about good enough. And this is a sort of tricky standard to hold, because it sounds perilously close to not good at all. But what we mean by this is that students have stepped out of their comfort zone. They've been willing to take a risk. And hopefully in that process, they've learned a lot. And you as mentors, for many of our students, I can say there's a small section that meeting and working with an adult is probably the scariest part of the Catalyst. And being able to encourage them to build their confidence in communicating with you, building their overall confidence, I think it will, for some of our students, be the most important part of the project.
Yeah,
Absolutely. All right, so let's transition and let's talk about what this is going to look like the morning of when you're invited to the Zoom call and all the students are on the call and Martin is there and Stephanie's there and myself are there. What is this going to look like? And so we've been working with the students on a 2-minute elevator pitch. So in that 2-minute elevator pitch, they should be introducing themselves. They should be giving you their project ideas, and they should be discussing the personal qualities that they have that they're bringing to the project. And then after they've done their 2-minute elevator pitch, you will have an opportunity to ask 2 or 3 questions. So in a nutshell, that's kind of what that looks like on the morning of. So now that's one part of it. The second part of it is, how are we going to do this? We're going to do this in breakout rooms. And so each of the students are going to be assigned a room. So if you're not familiar with Zoom, and again, I don't want to assume what our skill level is with Zoom, but if you look at the bottom of your screen, and on a cell phone, it's going to be a little bit more difficult, but you should see the words breakout room. And if you want to go ahead and click on it, you can. And I have gone ahead and I've created 2 rooms right now. On the day of, there will be 20 rooms, and each room will have the student's name. And so I'm going to pass a document at the same time that you're locating the breakout rooms and you're kind of looking at that screen right now. I'm going to pass a document in the chat. And if you want to go ahead and open up that document, you're going to see the directions for the breakout room. And on those particular directions, it's just showing you and telling you how you can go from room to room. So again, if you've got the breakout rooms open, you're going to see the word join. So if I could direct your attention to page 2 of the document that I just shared, if you go to the second page, you'll see the students' names and their topics. And so as you're scanning that page, we're going to try and pair you up based on your interests and based on the topic of the student. So you're not going to visit all 20 students. We're thinking approximately 3 to 4. Now, here's the tricky part. This is a type of activity where you are able to enter and leave the breakout room on your own. So if I direct your attention back to the breakout room group, you see Martin and Stephanie there, and right now you see a 0 by their name. That means nobody is in that room. Even Martin and Stephanie are not in that room. So we're going to practice this, and I see that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We have about 9 people on the room, and we're going to try and get 4 or 5 people into each room. All right, and so if you see on the day of, if you see a 2 there, meaning the student and another mentor, I'm just going to ask you to pause and wait. And when you see that number at 1, that means you can enter the room. So for example, I know Yash is creating an app, and my knowledge happens to be in creating apps, and I want to speak with Yash. So I'm going to wait until Yash's room has a 1 by it, and I know he's available to talk to me. And then I'm going to click the join button, and I'm going to go into his room. And I'm going to follow that process of, I'm going to allow him to introduce himself. I'm going to let him give a 2-minute elevator pitch, 2 to 3 minutes. He's going to talk about his project. And then the rest of the time would be for me to have a conversation with him and ask him some clarifying questions and really get to know him, because you're actually trying to get a feel, is this a good fit between student and mentor? Okay. I'm going to pause for a second. If there's a clarifying question of how we're going to practice this, could you put it in the chat so that everybody could see it? I'm just going to pause for about 30 seconds.
Jen, would you like Martin and I to go into those rooms?
That's exactly what I would like, yes. Okay, we have a question. Just to confirm, we can mentor students in areas that we are not experts in. That would be correct. Okay, and we can select students, and we select students' projects. If you're asking, do you select the project? No, the students already have their projects. And so right now we just have the topics. Oh, I see what you're saying. I think the day of, we're going to help me, Martin and Stephanie, before you leave into the room. The adult mentors have given their interest, and we're going to actually try and match them up with 3 or 4, correct?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
We will send out a form at the end of the meeting, and parents will be able to express an interest in all the projects that interested them.
Yes, so the next question is, so the student does the pitch many times to different mentors. How much time do we have with each student? My guess is between 3 and 5 minutes, maybe less. Because you are able to freely enter and exit the breakout room, you, as soon as you're done, hopefully there's a thank you on the student's part and a thank you on your part, and then you're free to leave the room and join the next room. You'll know that you don't have to come back out to the main room. You can just go into the next room. And again, I will be the one that will be in the main room, so the rooms will never close. I will be in the main room, and if you have difficulties, you can always come back to me. Okay. All right, let's give this a try. So Martin and Stephanie, if you would go ahead and join your assigned rooms.
Okay.
We here in the main room are going to see them leave. Okay, so now we see the number 1. That means that they're in there. And if you see a 2, that means you can't enter. For practice, we're going to have 3 to 5 people there. So hover over the join button. It doesn't matter which one you go to. Go ahead and join a room.
Hi, I'm sorry, I'm
Hi.
trying to join, but I don't have the join button. I can only see the number of people in the rooms, but I don't have a join button.
Okay, I'm going to assign you to a room. That's why I'm here.
Thank
You're
you.
going to Martin's room, okay?
Thank you.
Hi, good morning. They're going to come back probably. All right. And if you'd like, go ahead and join another room, join the other room.
Sorry, I wasn't sure if we were doing that again or if we were doing it once. So
Yes, so we allowed, I'll wait for everybody to join back in. I've still got 2 people. Let's see if I can get them back.
I think Martin's still there. If he shuts the room, they all come back.
Yeah, I closed the rooms. So just about 20 seconds and we'll get, the buttons are a little bit tricky. That's why we practice.
Yeah.
As we have found out in all of our Zoom meetings that we've had.
It's true.
So, and the button in the bottom right-hand corner does get a little tricky because when you do click end, it's either end the meeting or it is end the breakout room. So welcome back, everybody. It gets a little tricky there for, the buttons. So I just want to decrease everybody's anxiety level and just know that we're here. I always stay in the main room, and if you have difficulty, I had one person come back and just say, I can't get into the room, and I have no problem trying to assign you manually into the room. So just know that we're here to help. And so on the page 1 of the document that I gave you, we'll pass this out the day of. We will be going through and joining, and I've given you a couple of images there of what the buttons actually look like, so you can, to help you kind of navigate to where you want to go. There was one last question that came through, and it says, how much time is expected for the mentor to provide input and have a discussion after the pitch? 1 or 2 clarifying questions, hopefully. So, as the conversation starts to die and there's a thank you at the end, naturally end your session, and then you're free to go join the next room. Okay, if the room is empty. And as it says in number 3, if by chance there's not a room empty and you just want to come hang out at the main room, you can always return to the main room, and then I can assist getting you into the next room. Martin and Stephanie, would you like to add anything to the process?
Yeah, I think I'd just like to say that one of the things that we're going to get the students to do is to, when you come into the room, is to write down your name and then jot down anything that they want to remember about the conversation, so that when they're sort of thinking about which mentor they felt was the best match, so that they can go back through their notes and remember. We're actually going to get them to write a reflection on this whole process. So we'll be seeing them it's Tuesday of next week on the 15th. And they'll make their notes as they're going through. And then on the Thursday of that week, so the 17th, we're going to get them to write a reflection. And then at that point, they'll consider and reach out to mentors about which person that they felt they'd made a connection with, and of which person they felt would be able to help them. So you should probably hear from them, and we'll have your email addresses probably around about the 17th to make sure that we've, we want to give them some time to think about it and work it out. So I guess any feedback that you give them during from their little pitch, will be helpful for them to decide, oh yes, that's something I didn't think of, that's a person that I would be able to to get some ideas and things from. So I think if you just keep that in mind, that they'll be just jotting a few notes down so that they can just remember what it was that you said to them. And also just a word of warning, there are some students in this group that will probably not make a 2-minute pitch. Some of them might make a 30-second or 40-second pitch, so you'll have more time to talk to them. Those students who might want to sort of draw more information out from them by asking some questions and really helping them sort of think about where they're going, because we even have that struggle with them in the class when we're talking to them, and they're very familiar with us. So they just might not, some of them are shy, some of them can't think on their feet very well. They might warm up towards the end, but just be really patient with them, and just remember that this is quite a new thing for them to meet lots of people that they don't know, and to pitch an idea that they're still working on. And that's the other thing probably for you guys to remember. These aren't it's a slow process for them to come to a project, and we've been taking the last couple of weeks to build a whole lot of information into their understanding of the project, so that they kind of know what to pick. Because the last thing we want is them to choose a project that, and this has happened many times in Catalyst, is that they're 5-6 weeks into the project and they decide it's not thrilling, it's not important, and it's not daunting, and it's not the project they really want to do. So then they change track which takes a big chunk of time out of how much they've got to actually do the project. So some of these projects aren't completely set in concrete yet, more sort of jello. So you can actually help with them with their thinking along those lines.
So we had another question that came in, and it says, as we mentor, is it appropriate to suggest these students reach out to other experts in the field in Singapore?
Do you want to field that one, Martin? Oh, mute. You're on mute.
Yeah,
there we go.
Absolutely, it's appropriate. It's the thing that the students struggle with at the moment, because effectively many of their outreach to mentors is often in the form of cold calling. So if they've got a referral, as it were, from someone, I think that's an excellent way of making that connection.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And we're just being asked to provide some example questions after the students have given their pitch. And so we will just add it to this document here.
Yeah. I mean, I think probably as we've been sort of talking about, the main thing is for you, like the very first question is, how is this project thrilling to you? Like they know these 3 words, so we're using them all the time. How is it thrilling to you? And get them to sort of start talking and unpacking what it is, why they've picked this project and what it is, why that's a passion for them, why they think it's important and how they think that's daunting. So that'd be the 3 pillar questions to keep coming back to. And then also you could also ask them probably like, how do you see a mentor helping you? In what way do you want help for your project? Because that can help them sort of think a little bit beyond, well, you know, like I'm doing this on, you know, like sewing and you're not a person who does sewing, but how could you help me with that? You know, like that, so that they can sort of think about things and then also ask them to ask you questions as well. That would be another one. So I think sticking to those 3 pillars and then asking them to sort of like generate questions back to you. We'll actually have them have questions for you before we even start this process. So I think that's probably the main guideline. And then of course, follow-up questions. If they ask something and you're not clear about what they're talking about, then you can come back and have another question beyond that sort of to clarify.
Okay. I do believe we are here at the end. And is there anything else? We probably want to do our wrap up at this moment.
I think there's just one more thing. The group that I had in
Okay.
my breakout room, I did mention this, and perhaps I'll just mention this in general to everybody, that we've got quite a range of students within this group. Some struggle academically and some are sort of pretty high flying academically. And so this project isn't an academic project, but the kids who do struggle are going to need a lot of support and probably a lot more than other students. And any support that you can give them and you know would be fantastic. But if you struggle with that, like even after you've set up a mentor partnership with the student, if you're sort of like, I really don't know how to help this student, then just get back to us, because we can give you lots of help and support in that. There are students, I mean all of them know what they're doing, but again, this isn't an academic competitive course to see who has the best project at all. It's all about each student learning and about showing their learning. So, you know, like they don't have to be academic high flyers because it's showing their learning. And I mean, like they could still get a very high grade on this project because we can see how much they've learned because, you know, like it's been this process. So some students are strugglers in this class, just so that you're aware, you know, like that you're not sort of, your expectations aren't too high on what they're sort of able to do. So any support you can give them would be very greatly appreciated. But reach out to us for help if you need help with them.
Okay. Thank you very much. Martin, would you like to, we've got a couple of topics left, which is child safety, expenses, and then we'll just kind of close this out. So who would like to take child safety?
Yeah, a quick mention. When you're meeting with a student, we're asking the students to initiate contact with you. And when they do so, they will also invite one of us and also one of their parents to the meeting. We won't necessarily be in attendance in that meeting, But just because of the guidelines we have around child safety, there has to be the potential for another adult from the school or family to be in the room at that time. So it's just something to be aware of.
Yeah, it's just a child safety protocol. If you are meeting at school, like we've got lots of new meeting rooms in the second floor of the library now. So if you, we can help you set up a place to meet the student. So if you sort of need help with that, you can just get onto us and we'll help to book a room for you so that you've got somewhere to meet with them. And that can be any time during the day that's convenient to you or to the student. But again, a Zoom call is totally fine as well, just as long as that you do invite an extra person along. And as Martin said, we won't necessarily come unless you ask us to. Like if you're sort of like, oh, it'd be good if one of the teachers came in so that we can help, especially if you've got a student and they're not quite sure what they're doing, and then that's totally fine. We're happy to come along too. So yeah, it's just, I guess we're just trying to look after the kids and make sure that they're in a safe place, and you know, like make it sort of like, you know, comfortable for everybody. So that's just our main guideline with the students.
Hello, yeah, this is me. I have one actual suggestion that I think all this group of mentors, if we have a chance to share our learning and practice, and then from the session, and if there is any, you know, session to share each other, that would be great.
Yeah,
so are you planning any session in the meantime? Maybe after first couple of meeting with the student, we may share each of us that any struggles, any good findings.
Yeah, that's
that's
a great idea. It's like a follow-up session so that you guys can, after you've sort of met them all, that you can sort of like get back together again. Yeah, that's a really good idea.
Good idea.
Yeah, fantastic idea.
Yeah,
we can pass that one on to Shireen and see if she can organize that.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe I just jump in there. This is a very new thing for us, and we're very open to feedback in terms of how we can improve this moving forward. Yeah,
because we came up with the idea just because we had we always have so many kids struggling with this part of the project, trying to find a mentor, and it is actually a mandatory part of the program is that they have to work with a mentor. So we brainstormed how can we do this better, like how can we do this, and then this is how we've come about. So it is all new, and any feedback you give us is fantastic, because hopefully we can continue doing this over, you know, next year as well, and see how this goes, and maybe bring this in as a normal part of our Catalyst program. So we're very excited to try it out with you guys. Thank you so much.
Excellent.
And maybe just I could address one additional point. We do have a budget for Catalyst. So if you are in the situation where there's some resources that you feel would be useful for the student, maybe a course, books, just let us know, and we do have a budget for purchasing resources.
Yeah, we do.
Perfect. All right, so I think that brings everything to a close. And so just a couple of things as we wrap up here. Between now and Tuesday, if something happens, or you're more than free to decide not to participate, however, we hope that doesn't happen, please just let Shireen know. I know that she's been the one that's been communicating with you, so do just keep us informed so that we can just make adjustments to our program. Everything that we've just practiced with you, we are practicing with the students between now and next Tuesday as well. And then, as we discussed, after, we'll share a Google form, and we'll gather your feedback onto the process of what we can continue. Sometimes we like to call it grows and glows. So what went well, and again, where still areas of growth.
Jen, what about the website? Can we share that with them so that they can read the student bios and like our website where we keep everything?
I will, everybody has this document, so I'll just go ahead and put a link on this document. Okay, my computer's running a little bit slow, so I'm afraid that it'll just take a while to move things along here, but I will go ahead and drop a link on our website so people can start looking at.
So just so you know, what we did is we've set up a website for the students, And it's like a one-stop shop. So everything they need to do with this course is on this website, and each student on the tabs across the top, there's one about student projects. And so each of the students has their own page where they've put in a biography about themselves and a photograph of themselves, and they've put in a piece of information about their what their goal is, so their worthy goal. They'll also have their elevator pitch on that page by next week as well. And so you can go in and have a look who all our students are, and you can see what they look like and what their interests are, and then have a little read about what their goal is. And so that way, that sort of prepares you a little bit for who they are, who this group are. And you're welcome to have a look through the rest of it to sort of see, like we put our slide decks in of what we're doing in each class. And then we've got resources on the homepage for students as well. So it's also another new way that we're doing it this year. So we're trying to do a one-stop shop for the kids, so it's easier for them to find everything. And also they're part of it because they own this website, because they've got their own page on there as well. So as we go along, those things will be added to over the semester. So please feel free to go and have a look at our website when you get the link.
Okay, I think we'll wrap it up just by saying thank you. Thank you for your attendance. Thank you for your commitment. It's much appreciated as we work to improve this program over the last couple of years, just taking the bits and pieces that we've learned and just constantly striving to make it better. Stephanie, Martin, and myself, we will hang out here if you would have any more direct questions that you'd like to ask us. But other than that, the meeting has been recorded. I'll drop a link also on this document so you can have the recording if you'd like to listen to it again. And we just thank you very much for your time. And have a great day.
Yeah, we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Okay, it's just the three of us.
Do you want to stop?
I am.
Do you want to
Yes,
stop?
I do. I most certainly do.